the first reason for prostrating for forgetfulness is when you increase something to the prayer. If the worshipper adds something to the prayer, such as bowing, prostration, standing, or tashahhud, that is not supposed to be, then you are recommended to do the prostration of forgetfulness after concluding the prayer with salam. And the hadith of Ibn Mas'ud backs this up. The Prophet once prayed 5 rak'ahs instead of 4. And the people followed him. After he offered the salam, the people started to, talk between themselves and to murmur. So the Prophet said, "What is the matter with you?" So they said, "O Prophet of Allah, has something been added to the prayer?" He said, "No." So they said, "You prayed 5 rak'ah." So the Prophet ﷺ immediately turned and prostrated twice. Then he said the salam again. Then he said, "I'm only human like you. I forget as you forget. So if one of you forgets something in the prayer, let him prostrate twice." And this was reported by Al-Imam Muslim. Now, if you know this during the prayer, you have to stop this addition. Because if you continued while knowing about it, it will invalidate your prayer. So someone is in the 5th rak'ah. And while he's in the 5th rak'ah, he remembers that, whoops, this is my 5th rak'ah. What should he do? He should immediately sit down for tashahhud. He must not continue, said, well, I started the 5th rak'ah, I have to conclude it and then conclude my prayer. Because if he does this, this prayer is invalid. Likewise, if he is in the 3rd sujood, and then he remembers that this is the 3rd, not the 2nd. So immediately he has to stand up and continue the prayer. The second reason for offering the prostration of forgetfulness is when a person omits from his prayer. So if you omitted something that's mandatory, not a pillar, then you have to offer sujood as-sahw before salam. Like if you, as I mentioned earlier, if you skip saying Subhan Rabbi Alim, Subhan Rabbi Al-A'la, or the first tashahhud, and likewise. And the evidence backing it up, the hadith of Abdullah ibn Buhayna, may Allah be pleased with him. He said that the Prophet of Allah ﷺ led us in one afternoon prayers, that is Dhuhr or Asr, in 2 rak'ahs. Then he stood up and did not sit down for the first tashahhud. And the people stood up with him. When he had finished his prayer and we were waiting for him to say the salam, he said takbir before the salam and prostrated twice. Then he was sitting. When he said the taslim. So this is the sunnah. When you drop a mandatory act of prayer. What if someone omits something that is a pillar? Anything other than takbiratul ihram. For example, if a person forgets the Fatiha, now this is a pillar, or forgets to offer ruku' or a prostration. If you did not reach its place in the following rak'ah, then you have to go back to it immediately. Example, I'm praying, Allahu Akbar, I skip Fatiha. And I say, Qul huwa Allahu ahad, Allahu Akbar, make ruku', Sami Allahu liman hamida, make first sajda, Subhan Rabbil A'la. Then I remember, I didn't recite the Fatiha. What should I do? I should immediately stand up and consider everything I did to be void and recite the Fatiha. Then the surah, then do the ruku' and the sujood as if I did not do any ruku' or sujood, because it's void, because I did not recite the Fatiha in the order. But if I said Allahu Akbar, skipped the Fatiha, did my ruku', did my 2 sujood, stood up for the second rak'ah, and now I am at the time of the second rak'ah, Fatiha, and I remembered, whoops, I didn't recite the Fatiha. This rak'ah is totally void, and I start reciting the Fatiha for my first rak'ah and act as if this is my first rak'ah. What about the ruku' and the 2 sujood and all what I've done? All is void, because I had skipped a pillar of the salat, and this is something that is unforgiven. The same thing with ruku', the same thing with sujood. And I have to, all cases, in such cases, offer the 2 prostrations of forgetfulness after the salam. Why? Because I've added all these acts that are considered to be void. So I have to add this to this is an addition in the salat, and I offer the 2 prostrations of forgetfulness after the salam.